Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. We are live right here in the beautiful Buckhead community of Atlanta. We are live, we are live, we are live. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Ramonepreston Show. Today is Wednesday, October the 5th, 2022. We are live right here in the beautiful Buckhead community of Atlanta. This is the day, the Wednesday, W-I-N-S day that the Lord has made. And we are rejoicing. I'm already rejoicing. I'm already glad in it. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Ramonepreston Show. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Please do me a favor, hit the like button. Hit the share button, tag Lolly Dolly, everybody, and let them know we're live right here on the Ramonepreston Show. And we're going to have an amazing discussion today about the biggest benefits of a holding company, the biggest benefits of a holding company. So please hit the like button wherever you're watching me from. Share this video with everyone that's in your ecosystem, in your circle. And make sure that you tag some family members, some friends, some colleagues, some co-workers, even some customers and clients that you might try to be convincing to buy something from you. I want you to tag everybody. And I want you to put in the comments what city you're watching me from today. Good afternoon, good afternoon. Welcome to the Ramonepreston Show. Today is Wednesday, October the 5th, 2022, and I'm super excited. For those of you that are coming on, please hit the like button, hit the share button, tag somebody, let them know that your boy is live on the Ramonepreston Show. I'm here, my squad is here, and we're ready to give you the game for another episode. So thank you for joining the show today. Just in case you don't know, my name is Ramonepreston, and I am the host of the Ramonepreston Show. And every Monday through Friday, live right here at 12 o'clock noon Eastern Standard Time, we show up on this show to give you information that I know and we know can help you start, structure, and at some point scale your business and your income streams. So it really don't matter where you are in your business or in your finances. If you have dreams and aspirations, if you have goals and ambitions to have a successful business, or a successful financial life, and to be financially free, all the information that I share on this show is really designed to help show you how to properly start that business, structure it so that you can scale it if you want to be successful in business and if you want to have financial freedom. Okay, now what qualifies me to share information with you about business and finance? Well, number one, everything I share with you, I'm living. So I've built a successful organizational enterprise. I'm financially free. And so it qualifies me to share information with you about successful business organizations and financial freedom. If I wasn't successful, if I wasn't financially free, I'm just the type of person, it'll be hard for me to share stuff with you that I haven't done myself. Now, if I share something with you that I haven't accomplished myself, I will at least let you know that I'm in the process of accomplishing it, that I'm still trying to figure it out. But I have figured out how to build a successful organizational enterprise, at least to create $1 million organizational enterprise. I have at least implemented and executed the right financial principles that have allowed me to be financially free. So what I'm saying to you, I know it works. And then I've got a lot of clients and students and people that I've worked with throughout my time as a business and financial consultant and coach who can vouch to the fact that what I share with you actually works. And so I like to come on this show like I do every Monday through Friday, 12 o'clock noon Eastern Standard Time, like today, Wednesday, October the 5th, and I'm live right here in real time. I like to come on this show and give you information because I know how valuable this information is. I know how important it is for entrepreneurs to learn the principles and the practices to build successful businesses. I know how hard it is to structure a business and to scale a business to at least have a business that's paying you and that can pay itself and that can hire staff and can really build itself and expand itself. It's hard, but if you have the right information, if you've got the right training, if you put the right effort and action behind it, you can make it work. So I'm qualified to share this information with you. And we have programs, we have services, we have an online training program that we teach all these business and financial principles. It's called the Millionaire Blueprint. It's a blueprint to become a millionaire. That's why it's called the Millionaire Blueprint. I'm not just calling it that because it sounds like a catchy word or a phrase. No, it's a millionaire blueprint. I teach you how to start and structure holding companies. I teach you creative tax strategies. I teach you about investing. I teach you about financial literacy and systems and processes and everything you need to become a millionaire through business systems, okay? I have a coaching program. It's called the Millionaire Mentorship Program. And every week I host coaching calls. I have one-on-one coaching sessions that I host on a regular basis with my clients. I have quarterly workshops that I host, and we have other programs and services that we offer. So I'm just giving you this spiel in the beginning of the show like I always do, because when we have new people that join our show and watch these videos, I want you as a new person and even as an existing follower and supporter of my show to know that I'm for real about what I do. I'm serious about what I do. And I get results because I know if I can get results for me, I can get results for you if you're willing to put yourself in a position to get the information, to get the support, to get the training. So today, I'm going to be talking about the biggest benefits of a holding company. I want to talk about the biggest benefits of a holding company. Now, you should already know how I feel about holding companies, okay? Me and my personal assistant, we were just talking about this a few minutes ago before the show. You already know how I feel about holding companies. One of the reasons why I feel this way about holding companies is because it took me a long time to figure this out. When I was around a lot of people who were in real estate, and I'm not talking about like people who just have a couple houses that they were flipping or maybe a 10 to 15 property portfolio investor. No, I'm talking about when my wife and I got around investors and developers and REITs and groups of people who were coming together creating these crowdfunding type syndications, and they were putting these companies together, and they were buying up millions of dollars of real estate, and they were doing these big commercial deals, and we were seeing it with our own eyes, how these groups of people, they would buy a condominium complex, and they would take 2 or 3 years and convert that condominium complex into a luxury apartment complex, and then they'll sell it and they'll walk away with 20, 30, 40 million dollars. I used to look at that type of stuff and say, man, how are they doing that? What type of business infrastructures do they have? Like, how do they put themselves in those positions? So everything that I learned, at least in the beginning stages of my consulting and coaching career, I learned from the world of real estate. That was the advantage of me and my wife being in real estate, because we were able to have relationships with lenders and, bankers and lawyers and CPAs and tax strategists and all these people. And a lot of times we wasn't doing these big deals. We were just in the circles of people who were doing these deals. But I'm the kind of person, I'm trying to look and see how y'all getting this done. Like, what exactly are y'all doing? And that's when I realized the power and the potential of business systems like holding companies. So I just want you to understand, when I talk about holding companies, everybody have their own opinions about holding companies. Everybody have their own opinions about business, period. But that's them. What I'm telling you is, if you look at the biggest businesses in the world, they are holding companies, or they may be under a holding company, meaning that they are subsidiaries. When you look at the smallest businesses in the world, they ain't holding companies. And they're not even subsidiaries of holding companies, because they are ran by, typically, people who do not have business and financial information and literacy about holding companies and wealth building strategies. So the stuff that I be sharing with you is stuff that trillion-dollar companies are using. multi-billion dollar companies are using, multi-million dollar companies are using, wealthy people are using. You're not going to listen to me and think it's going to be agreed upon by people who are broke and who are struggling, or who just running their businesses on the side, or who just know how to go get an LLC from the Secretary of State and start a business and think that they're going to understand the concepts and the principles that I'm teaching. So I'm just preparing you now. What I'm getting ready to share you about the biggest benefits of a holding company, unless or until you are willing and ready to put these principles and concepts to practice, you ain't gonna see the benefits. You ain't gonna see the benefits. So what I'm saying to you is gonna sound like gibberish if you don't put together the right business system, okay? So it's very important for you to understand what I mean when I say there are big benefits to a holding company. And I wanna give you 5, okay? The biggest benefits of a holding company. Number 1, you should already know this. Protection. And it's kind of sad. It's really kind of sad that when I'm teaching principles like this, I almost have to defend my view so that you as the viewer, you as a listener, won't be confused because of the other information you already have about business. I'm not doing it to try to combat against trolls and haters. I really defend my point of view about these principles and concepts because I want to help you. I know sometimes when you listen to information, you can be challenged to accept it and to believe it because there's so much information on the internet. You get access to so much information in the world, and you question the validity of what somebody like me is saying. So the first big benefit of a holding company is protection. Why is it protection? Well, listen, if you have a regular LLC, if you just have one single business, okay, if you got one business and it's a LLC, and this is you right here as the owner, just to simplify this, you are already protected just by having an LLC. So it doesn't mean you're not protected if you don't have a holding company. So this principle applies to you if you just have a regular LLC, because your LLC is a limited liability company. So it protects you. There's a level of protection that you have. The only difference is when you have a holding company and this LLC is your holding company, there's just an extra layer of protection, because now LLC number 1 is the holding company, and then if you have other companies, these LLCs number 2, 3, and 4 and beyond, these LLCs will be owned by the main LLC, and there will just be an extra layer of protection. So this company as a holding company doesn't always necessarily, in most cases, it don't do business with the general public. Most, if at any, of the business that a holding company does is typically between the LLC and the subsidiaries. So that's most of the business that a holding company typically does. All right, and that's for another time for us to talk about that, because I don't want to talk about that today. But a holding company is typically doing business with its subsidiaries for managing, leasing, and whatever the things are that the holding company holds and owns. It will allow certain activities with these subsidiaries for them to use those equipments or services or products or intellectual assets or whatever they are. So again, number 1, the first biggest benefit of a holding company is what? It's protection. So you want to add that extra layer of protection, especially if your goal is to build a large organizational enterprise. So again, if you don't plan on building no big business, maybe what I'm saying to you don't make sense, and maybe it's not necessary. But if you want to build a big business, I'm telling you, a lot of these major corporations that you see existing in the world today, a lot of them didn't start out as holding companies with operating companies that did business. A lot of them just started out as operating companies, and when they got big enough, they created holding companies and restructured their organizations to go under the holding company or the new company. Like, for example, you got YouTube, YouTube already existed, right? And then you got Google. And within the last few years, their parent company turned into Alphabet. They created a new holding company and they put YouTube and Google and other subsidiaries under Alphabet. But again, these are big players. These are like behemoth whales of corporations. But the concepts that they are using are wealth building concepts. You don't have to, quote unquote, wait till you become a $1 billion or $1 trillion company to make these reorganization moves. You can start it this way in the beginning. A lot of people that you might talk to, they may say it ain't worth it for you to do it. You spinning your wheels too much, or you're complicating what you're doing. Well, that's for me to determine. It ain't for other people's opinion to determine that. Okay? So number one, the first biggest benefit of having a holding company is what? Is protection. Because now you are here, your holding company is here, and you can use your holding company primarily to hold the ownership interests of other companies, to hold trademarks, to hold assets that might be valuable, whether they're stock certificates or bonds or NFTs or trademarks or intellectual property or patents or whatever. You can use this holding company to hold them, and then you can add other LLCs that are considered operating LLCs, so they can go out there and do business, and now you got an extra layer of protection. So if anything ever happens to this, you're not at the top of this, your holding company is. So that's one of the biggest benefits of a holding company, okay, is protection. Number two, the second biggest benefit of a holding company is leverage. And again, if you are arguing your point of view based on what I'm saying, or if you know somebody argues their point of view against this, understand that you can see these benefits in just one regular LLC, but it starts looking different as your business starts growing. That's where you start seeing the difference. So if you small and you ain't really got nothing going on, nobody sees the benefit of anything. So if you ain't really making no money in business, you're gonna always have people to say, oh, I don't need no business because I ain't making enough money. Okay, you don't see no benefit in it. Then if you have people who start a business, but they don't do it with a holding company first, they ain't gonna really see the benefit because they ain't really doing too much. But when you start making money, when you start having issues with trying to lower your taxes and trying to invest and reallocate pre-tax dollars into other investments, and you're trying to expand your organization out, and you're buying new assets, and you're acquiring businesses, and when you start getting into a lot of those things, you're gonna see the benefit of a holding company. Trust me. If you never get to that point, you ain't gonna see it. So sometimes it's just a matter of personal preference. So the second biggest benefit of a holding company is what? Leverage. What do you mean leverage? Well, here's what I mean by leverage. There's banking leverage. There's banking leverage, and then there's business leverage. So these are the two forms of leverage that you can easily see using a holding company, all right? For banking purposes, the reason why it can be leveraged, because sometimes you can use your holding company and your subsidiaries that are under your holding company to really create more purchasing power. So for example, if you own, let's say if you own 3 businesses, okay, it's you're the single member of 3 businesses right here. So it's no holding company, but you own all 3 businesses, right? And this business makes $10,000. This business makes $10,000. This business makes $10,000. Well, you're not going to really be able, in most cases, to mesh all 3 of those together, you know, to compose all 3 of those together in order to create, let's say, $30,000 worth of value if you got 3 businesses set up like that where you're the owner. you're not able to really do that like that. Of course, you can find a bank or a lender who can get creative with the 3 businesses that you own that have 10,000. But it's much easier. This is where the leverage comes in at. It's much easier if you're here, you own 1 business, and then your 1 business owns 3 businesses. And now these 3 businesses have 10K. Well, because this business is the sole owner, that 30K is already composed together. It's already brought together because it all flows up to the main entity. So that's banking leverage, but that's also business leverage, because now you're able to leverage 1 business against another one. So when you have 1 business that your holding company owns that don't make a lot of money, but then you got another business your holding company owns that makes a lot of money, you're able to leverage it and balance a lot of that out, so that you can continue to grow your business without having those separate entities that you're trying to figure out how you bring them together. So that's the second biggest benefit of a holding company. Number 3, the third biggest benefit of a holding company is preservation. It's preservation. And so what I mean by preservation is you're able to preserve the value and the integrity of things that are really important assets to you by having a holding company. So again, you got yourself here, you got your holding company here, and then you got all your subsidiaries, however many you have, as you continue to grow your business. Well, the holding company is going to create preservation for you, because your holding company is going to own your IP, your intellectual property. Your holding company is going to own your ownership interests of other companies. Your holding company is going to really own all of the assets that are valuable that you might not want these other companies to own. So it doesn't mean these other companies cannot use your IP. It don't mean these other companies cannot use your ownership interests or your assets, but they're not owning them. So now you have all these operating companies that are owned by your holding company, and they're using these assets, but they don't own these assets. Your holding company should own your copyrights. Your holding company should own your trademarks. Your holding company should own your intellectual property. If there are certain processes and systems that you've created, things that your intellect has created, you want all that content, all that copyright, all that intellect, all those assets to be owned by your holding company, and that creates preservation. Because most of the times when people start growing their businesses and they have a holding company, what they typically do when they reach a certain financial status is they typically start a trust. This is what I've typically seen a lot of times. They'll start a trust right here, and they'll let the trust own the holding company, and they'll own the trust. But because the holding company already owns a lot of those assets, it becomes an easier transition for them when they make that decision to integrate a trust between them and their holding company. So that's where the preservation of a lot of your assets comes in at, because you have a holding company, as opposed to you got one business, you got one LLC, and then this LLC owns your copyrights. This LLC owns your intellectual property. This LLC owns all your assets. This LLC owns real estate. And this LLC is out there operating in the marketplace doing business. If anything ever happens to this LLC, all of this stuff is within this one and it's exposed, unless you have that holding company that all this stuff is in. And this may be in another subsidiary, the real estate, but now this business is out there operating, but it doesn't own all this stuff, your other assets are preserved. So that's the third biggest benefit of a holding company. Number 4, this is where it gets real good for me, because a lot of people don't know how to use their companies for this. But the 4th biggest benefit of a holding company is branding. Branding. A lot of entrepreneurs and business owners don't know how to use their holding companies for this purpose. I mean, they don't. They don't. So I do a lot of teaching on how to use your holding company for branding purposes by really creating the proper market position. I look at it as market positioning. That's what I look at it as. Now it's very hard for me to just explain this particular concept in a few minutes, but let me just try to simplify it for you. Branding is a benefit of a holding company, because if you name your holding company correctly, at least when you're just getting started to build a brand, you can use your holding company to position yourself. Like, for example, Ramonepreston Enterprises structurally is a holding company. My business, Ramonepreston Enterprises, my main company, it's structurally put together as a holding company. That means if you go to the Secretary of State and you pull up my business information, it's going to be categorized as a holding company. So my holding company is actually structured correctly, but I still use Ramonepreston Enterprises for branding purposes to position myself in the marketplace, because my business carries my name. So it resonates easier. My messaging can be a little more clear. This is a concept that a lot of small business owners, they don't understand and they don't use, because they're listening to the wrong people. Now, there are some business owners who don't want to use their name, who don't want to create a brand because of the kind of business they're in. But most of the times, when you have a business owner who don't want to create a brand, who don't want attention, who don't want to create this persona, if you will, it's a business owner who's probably in real estate investing, because they don't really need that to do real estate. But if you're not in real estate investing, if you're not doing that type of business, you need to build a brand. You need to market yourself. You need to position yourself correctly. You need to get awareness and attention. This is a mistake a lot of small business owners make. This is a mistake that most entrepreneurs make, because they're out there trying to sell stuff. First of all, they don't know how to sell. They don't know how to market. They don't learn how to do any of that. And on top of that, they don't even have themselves positioned properly in the market. So guess what? They don't get no business. So again, if you're a real estate investor and you want anonymity, I just talked to somebody, yesterday, I think, and they was telling me that they have a LLC in one state, and now they want to set up a LLC in Wyoming or Delaware or Nevada, one of those other states, and they asking me, and I'm like, you're not even in real estate. You're trying to hide yourself and protect yourself and your identity, but that's not how you're going to sell your products and services. At some point, you got a brand. At some point, you got to market. And if you don't do that, you just thinking strangely, people going to find you, connect with you, and buy your stuff. It just don't work like that, y'all. So the 4th biggest benefit of a holding company is branding. Now, if you really don't know how to use a holding company, or any business for that matter, if you don't know how to do this, if you don't know how to position yourself in the market properly, I've got some courses that I can give you access to really show you, how do you do this? How does this actually work? See, I've done it, so I know it works, and it hasn't affected my business at all negatively. So a lot of the stuff I hear people saying when they tell me, oh, well, so-and-so said this, or I looked this up on the internet and read this and watched the video and somebody on YouTube said that. And I'm like, hey, maybe that's correct for them. But for me, that's not how it worked. For me, I had to create a business. I had to make sure my brand was built into my business. And I had to make sure that my brand identity got and still gets attention and awareness. And if I can make that process easier, if I can simplify it, it just gives me more speed to go out there into the marketplace and make money. All right. So that's big benefit number 4. And number 5, the 5th biggest benefit of a holding company is taxes. Now this is a little tricky here because I'm not a tax expert, number 1. So everything that I be sharing with you about taxes is just stuff that I've learned and stuff that I talk to my tax strategists and CPA and other experts about to get more understanding on. Okay, so the reason why I'm saying taxes is the 5th biggest benefit of a holding company is because of this. When you have a holding company, okay? When you have a holding company, this is your holding company, and you have, let's say, an operating company, and your operating company starts making money. Okay, for tax purposes, any net profits that this company has, it's going to come up to the holding company. All right? Are you following me on this? Let me say it again. If you have a holding company that you own, and you can double check this with a tax expert. This is the best of my knowledge, okay? If you own a holding company and then your holding company owns an operating company that makes money, once your operating company pays its expenses, whatever the net revenue is, whatever this company nets, the net profits, that's going to be pushed up or passed through up to the holding company. If the holding company doesn't necessarily do anything with it, then when you do your taxes, you're going to have to give an account of that money that was passed up from the operating company to the holding company, whatever that dollar amount was, if you didn't do anything with it. And then you'll pay taxes on that because it's going to be passed up through this one to you. A lot of times when you have this type of structure, what typically happens, and I've seen it, I'm telling you, this is how a lot of people do it. What they do is they take this money here from the operating company, they move it up to the holding company, and then the holding company either goes and purchases real estate or they invest in some other business. And most of the times, these activities are considered to be non-taxable events that this person up here doesn't pay taxes on because that money was put into some other real estate deal or put into some other business investment that eliminated or lowered the overall tax liability. I've also seen it where you have the holding company and you have, let's say, one entity here, and then one entity here. And because you have these multiple entities, this entity over here could be crushing it with profits. This entity could probably be breaking even, and then this entity can be at a loss. And by the time all of the income and expenses are passed up through to the holding company's general ledger, it all balances out, whether it's with depreciation of real estate or whether it's with more expenses on one company than it is the other. It all balances out by the time it gets to the person at the top through the holding company. But again, you don't play these kind of games unless you have the right infrastructure set up. Now, of course, when you're just getting started and all you're trying to do is figure out how can I create some ideas, make them products and services and go make money. When you're at that stage, a lot of times you're not thinking about these sophisticated business infrastructures and these sophisticated tax strategies. But it doesn't mean you shouldn't. Just because you're not thinking about it don't mean you shouldn't. Because see, here's what I've learned. The reason why I wanted to know these things in the beginning is because of the type of person I am. I think big and I want it all. So when I don't know certain things, I feel like I'm restricted and I'm limited. So when I don't have access to certain information, I'm like, man, I want to be a billionaire. I want to be rich. I want to have it all. How do I do it? So if I don't know how to do it, it makes it harder for me to just do the day-to-day things I need to do now just to make some money. But once I understand the bigger picture and I'm able to wrap my mind around it, it just gives me a little relief while I'm out here grinding, trying to make money, because I know where I'm going. I know where I can go. I see my potential. So a lot of times, even though you don't have everything put together yet, you don't have everything working right, and you're just at the beginning stages, a lot of times it's just better for you to do it right the first time, put it together the right way, educate yourself on how that is going to look at the end, and work your way up to there, as opposed to just, oh, I'm gonna just do my operating business. I'm gonna just sell products, sell services, and then when I get to that point, I'll deal with it. I can't think like that. I don't do well like that. I lose motivation, I lose excitement, and I get bored and I give up. So when I can see the bigger picture, it just makes it easier for me. So I want to encourage you, if you need access to this information and you know you want to learn more about holding companies because you don't know enough, almost everybody I talk to, whether they purchase a product or a program from me or not, almost everybody I talk to that call me or text me or email me, when we talk about holding companies, almost everybody tells me the same thing. And what they most all the time tell me is, we can't find enough information on the internet. Why is it that you can't find enough information on the internet about holding companies and creative tax strategies and how all these things work together? I'm gonna tell you one of the reasons why you can't find it. Because this information is too valuable just to be free and exposed everywhere. The people who know this stuff get paid enough money that they don't have to be on the internet sharing this information for free. That's one of the reasons why. And the people that you find out who have this information, most of the times, they might not even have coaching programs or courses that you can buy. And if they do, they might be tens of thousands of dollars just for you to get in on like an entry level, because the information is so valuable. I know this to be true. This is why so many people reach out to me, because they know, man, you sharing information that a lot of people ain't sharing and we can't find nowhere. No, you're not gonna find it. You can get pieces here, pieces there, but you wanna get information in a centralized area. You wanna start learning and educating yourself and familiarizing yourself with these concepts and principles so that you can start building this infrastructure out, especially when you know, when you hear it, you're like, oh my God, I gotta do it. Well, stop waiting, stop hesitating, and lean in and get it. Okay, so we have programs, we have online educational programs to teach you everything about holding companies, tax strategies, and to show you how to put it all together. We have a coaching program that not only gives you access to the education part, but it also gives you an opportunity to sit down with me and my team, and we can work with you through each of these steps and phases to help you along the way. So all you have to do is text the word millionaire to 404-478-7213. If you text the word millionaire to that number, we're going to reach back out to you. And we'll just ask you a few questions over the phone. And those questions are just going to be related to, like, where are you in business? Where you want to go? What you're doing? What you want to do? And we'll give you some information on how you need to do it and how it needs to be set up. And we can share more information with you about our online program, where you can get access 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to the education, and to our coaching program, whichever one works best for you. At some point, you're gonna need it if you expect to do it. So the sooner, the better, especially before you end this year. because you might already have some tax issues. You might already need to get some business systems in place before you move into the new year. So don't wait until next year. You need to do it now. Text the word millionaire to 404-478-7213, and we'll take a few minutes to talk with you, answer some questions for you, and give you some direction on where you need to go and what you need to do to make these things happen. So I appreciate you for joining me on this Wednesday, October the 5th, on the Ramonepreston Show. Today I shared with you 5 of the biggest benefits of a holding company. Number 1, protection. Number 2, leverage. Number 3, preservation. Number 4, branding. And number 5, taxes. And I got educational courses. I got coaching programs that can help you with everything that I've shared with you and more. Just text millionaire to the number you see behind me, and I'll be more than happy to speak with you and to share more information with you. So I love all of you. Thank you so much. Please put in the comments what your biggest takeaway is. Like, what was the biggest takeaway for you today? What did you hear today that you was like, oh my God, that's it? I would love to know what your biggest takeaway is from today's show. I'll see you tomorrow, right here, same place, same time, 12 o'clock noon on the Ramonepreston Show. Thank you again for joining.